All right, so this is obviously the whole sheep brain, and you can see the cerebral hemispheres and the longitudinal fissure right down the center, and the shiny, sort of shiny surface to it is the pia mater, the stuff that adheres to the surface of the brain, and the little elevated areas are the gyri, and the little spaces in between are the sulci. So this is the cerebrum. Back here is the cerebellum, and then of course right here is the spinal cord. And if we turn it over, you can see here at the front of the brain, there's some sort of whitish tissue right here and a little bit more right over here. That's the olfactory bulb. That's the smelling apparatus for the sheep. And then right here, and it might be a little hard to see, but there's a little tissue running this direction and this direction. And this is the actually the optic nerve. And right at the very center where the optic nerve crosses, that's the thing called the optic chiasm, because the word chiasm means cross. And the optic nerve sort of, kind of comes in like this, and right at the center of the X is the chiasm. What we really can't see are the extensions of the optic nerve kind of coming this way and that way. But the little center spot is the chiasm. And then that last thing I was telling you guys about, that thing called the corpora quadrigemina. If you take the brain like this and sort of drop the cerebellum down, you can see right here in the back there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 little structures right here. And so these two little bigger lobes at the top, the whole structure is the corpora quadrigemina, and the two structures at the top are the superior colliculi, and then the smaller ones below are the inferior colliculi. Right? So that's what this looks like in a whole structure. Then the half brain looks like this. You can see the cerebellum, this structure here, and the white fibers in it. That's the tree of life. And then a tiny little sort of space right here at the base of the cerebellum is the fourth ventricle. And then this little bulge, not much of a bulge is it, right here is the pons. And then this would be the medulla oblongata, and then probably this is a little bit of the spinal cord. Let's see. This little round structure, which is cut in half right here, I'm pulling up with my pointer, that's the pineal gland, the body clock gland in humans. This sort of round area that I'm outlining right here with my needle is the area of the thalamus, right in here. And then, so what about the hypothalamus? If right here in the center is the thalamus, the hypothalamus is a little bit like anterior and below it, sort of like it's not a distinct area, but it's sort of right in there. That's where the hypothalamus is. This structure here, see if I can pick it up a little bit, and I can't. The structure right here, this white matter right here, is the corpus callosum. That's the major connection in all animals between the right and left side of the brain. And then there's a little thin curtain of tissue, it really be hard to see, which covers this surface here. It's called the septum pellucidum. And if we pull it, if you kind of open it up like this and pull this back, you can see there's a space in there. That's the lateral ventricle. So the septum pellucidum is kind of a little curtain that covers over the lateral ventricle. That's the fourth ventricle. This little space right here is the cerebral aqueduct. And then the third ventricle is this area that surrounds the thalamus, because, I'll try to use my hands like this, because we cut the brain in half. But before we did, there was like this little space that like eats the palms of my hand or the thalamus, and the space in between is the third ventricle. So we kind of sliced through the third ventricle to expose the thalamus. So it's this area right in there. And what else? Oh, now we did a sagittal cut. So this is the superior colliculus, and the area below it is the inferior colliculus, which was these structures here. And we can see sort of half of the optic nerve right there. There's a little bit of dura still on this one. And we don't do it, but this hunk of tissue right here that's still left hanging is actually the pituitary gland. And that might be about it. on the sheep brain. I think that covers just about everything. Honestly, it's not that much, but well, I mean, I guess I'm thinking about cat muscles, and you know, then it's like okay, compared to cat muscles, it's not much. But anyway,
Almost 5 minutes exactly.
5 minutes. All right. So anyway, so that's it. So that's the sheep brain.